I can't. Go.
All
You
right,
just
cool.
go. You
All right.
go.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys. Hold on, hold on. I didn't have the mic in front of me, so all right, cool. As you can see, we're still getting accustomed to this camera stuff, so we will get better. Our goal is to be able to be ourselves in front of a camera. At the end of the day, we understand that you guys are the ones watching these videos. So, anyways, appreciate you guys. We're thankful for all the love, all the support that we got on the last piece, our first episode or our introduction. Today, we're going to be talking about how we met. A lot of people were asking us. We're just going to walk you guys through our story from beginning up until present time, being young teenagers and how we've managed to stay together for this long, how we've managed to raise our family, go through a bunch of ups and downs, and how we've made it this far so far.
And also, disclaimer, I think it's really important to note that the times we're living in, everyone wants to be like looked at and chosen and be an inspiration. And I feel like we're grateful when someone can look at us and just say like, look what God did with them. Because by no means is our relationship perfect. It never has been. But if there's one thing people say, it's like, oh, relationship goals. And I'm like, no, it's not, because oftentimes you can find yourself in a really rough relationship, whether it's like boyfriend, girlfriend, or even a rough marriage, and it can be a season that you are in as a whole. And I think it's really important to note that Norby and I are where we are right now because we have fought for each other. At one point, he fought for me, at other times, I fought for him within our marriage already. Um, and as we move on with our story, you will know how this played out. But uh, even like when we were dating, him and I never had plans of getting married or any of that. We were just really liked each other's company. We really vibed with each other. We had a solid friendship, and we still do. But that's what I think set the foundation for where we are now. So I just wanted to say that we don't have the perfect love story. No, there's been a lot of obstacles along the way, and we are happy. I'm so proud of who we are now. And more importantly, because I see the hand of the Lord over our relationship. And I know that I know that I know that this is from God. Otherwise, I don't know where we would be, like, but not together if it wasn't from the Lord. So I think that's the most important for us, um, to note, because when you see us, I pray that you would see the Lord.
Yeah. I just want to emphasize the fact that she said this has not been a perfect path. It's been ups and downs, and we've gone through many, many seasons. Seasons again where I had to do the fighting, seasons where she had to do the fighting. But sometimes you just got to realize, for anybody who's in a relationship and if you're going through a tough time, you just got to realize that. I mean, if you guys are both willing to fight, if there's really something real there, then you always have a chance at fixing it if you guys are both willing to fix it. And what you're going through right now might just very much be a season. And so if you guys have the patience and if you guys are both willing to fight and come together and hear each other and try to make things easier for each other, then there's always a chance, I think. Always a chance.
Because the truth is that in marriage and in relationships, you go through seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we have winter, we have fall, we have spring, we have summer. It's like, I remember what the word says, like there's a season for joy and a season for war, like a season for peace, like a season for joy and a season to cry, a season for peace and a season for war.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's life in
Mm-hmm.
general. Like life is never going to be a smooth path, and so neither is marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to take note of those times, right? And I think that, again, like the reason why Norby and I chose to do this was so that we can share our experiences. And like Norby said, of course I'm gonna say you can't do it without God, but that's not even, that's like the religious answer. But the practical answer is that the Lord will lead you in how to walk it out. I can speak for me, for us,
Yeah.
and where the Lord would say to me, like, do you trust me? Do you love me? like, do you trust that I'm going to make this work? And I felt like it was hard. And that didn't just mean like, yes, God, I trust you. I know you're perfect. It was commitment on my behalf. And the number one thing was that I had to learn how to love myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to do things for myself, not for your approval. Like,
Yeah.
if I was going to get ready, I was going to get ready and feel great for myself. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I got ready for you to compliment me and then you didn't, then I would be all sad and all depressed. I'm like, oh, he doesn't love me. I'm not beautiful, whatever. So then the Lord was like, do things for yourself. So it's like that self love. But I feel like that's such a, like, there's like a thin line, right? Of, we could confuse what self love looks like because
Mm.
it's not ego, it's authority and knowing who you are. So I had to know who I am before the Lord. And I had to learn to love myself and know all these qualities that God had placed in me. And then from that place, I could love you better. And I could release expectation that I had of you to treat me. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
So, yes, without the Lord, but the Lord is going to give you practical ways on how to get there. They're going to be hard sometimes because it's most likely going to be like tied to yourself.
For sure.
And always, always, always in a marriage, if there's one person willing to fight for it, it's going to work.
There's a chance.
There's a high chance.
Yeah.
It's going to take time, but there's no way that someone that you love, if you're loving them constantly, like you're serving them, you're loving them, you're being gracious, you're being intentional. If that person is in the right headspace, it's going to work out. If this person's already seeing somebody else, if this person's already checked out, then it's not. But that's why you have to know your boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to know your boundaries. Like, it doesn't, I'm not going to fight for a toxic person. I'm not going to fight for a person that humiliates me and doesn't appreciate what I do. Like, that's where boundaries come in,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, if you're beating me and you're like cheating on me constantly, I can't
Got
fight
it.
for that
Yeah.
because God doesn't call me to stay in that unless the Lord already said, you're going to stay there. Like
Yeah.
Hosea, when
Yeah.
he was called to marry the prostitute, then that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But there's boundaries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make it work with you, but you're constantly seeking other women, or you're like being physically like abusive, then
Mm-hmm.
no, you need to set your boundaries.
Yeah.
That's where you draw the line. Honestly, read that book, The Meaning of Marriage. Um, it taught me a lot. And most of my books, I'm a Christian girl, most of my books are going to be from a godly perspective. But I think that that book helped me a lot. I'm going to give you guys a lot of books. The Meaning of Marriage, The Seasons of Marriage, um, The Five Love Languages, um, I think so far. And there's another one, I can't remember the name. I haven't read it, but I really want to read it. But when I read The Meaning of Marriage, it flipped the switch for me on what marriage is. And I wonder, like, I want to ask you guys, what do you think marriage is? Like, when you think marriage, what does that look like for you? Because, first off, the meaning of marriage is covenant before God. And we marry, and we marry through church, so that this is like God blessing our covenant and saying, like, Lord, we give this to you. We want to do this the right way. But now I know that I'm marrying a son of God. And then the spouse would know that you're marrying a woman of God, like a daughter of God. So the meaning of marriage isn't like for me to love you and lavish you and make you feel like the best and just be like, you can do it. It's like, it's calling out to you who God has made you to be. That's the meaning of marriage. And when you walk that out, it changes. Your marriage gets better. So imagine we're talking about a marriage where one person checked out. Let's say you checked out. And daily I'm championing you and I'm like, I love you. And I'm praying for you, right? I'm praying for you and I'm saying, I love you. Like, you can do this. You're amazing. And I'm serving you. Like, would you? I don't think you would. You would. I don't think you would reject that. if you're not checked out, because there's so many ways you can be mentally, sexually, emotionally checked out.
Yeah,
But
I think
the
over
meaning,
time you would start to want to connect
of
with
course,
that.
because now when this person's not around, you're like, you start realizing this person brings me so much life,
Yeah.
and this person makes me believe in me again. And
Hmm.
this person isn't just saying, "Oh, you're handsome." No, like they're believing in who I am. Like, I am a leader in my home.
Yeah.
I am a leader. I am a leader where I go.
Yeah.
I am respected. I am honored in my home.
Hmm.
Like, that's what a man needs. And then a woman needs to be nurtured, and she needs to be loved, and she needs to be like championed in a different way where it's like, I love you. You do such an incredible job at home. You do such an incredible job with my kids. Um, it's different.
For sure.
The man and the woman were built different.
For
And
sure.
so the meaning of marriage, that's the one thing that I learned. And I'm like, dang, like I need to champion my husband and understand that the Lord made you and the Lord chose you for me. And so now, not being selfish of like, are you going to love me? Are you going to compliment me? Are you going to motivate me? Like that for me, my cup has to be full with God first. Because if it's not full with God, it's never going to be filled by you completely,
Hmm. For
And I
sure.
think that's where we mess up in our relationships and our marriages, where we expect the next person. I expect you to fill it for me. And that's surreal. That's not even like, yeah.
Now let's get to
So now
how
we
we
can
met.
reintroduce, now that we are,
Now we'll tell you guys how we actually met, where it started in the beginning.
yeah. We met on November November 2009. I remember clearly. It was a Friday night, and I was getting off the bus on Nordhoff and Van Nuys. My friends and I had just came home from the mall, and I was heading home, and Norby was coming along with his friends, and one of his friends was like, "Hey, cuties," trying to talk to us, and I remember looking at Norby, and I was like, "He's cute." I was like, "What's up with the cutie in the champ sweater?" And he didn't even know it was him. He just looks at his sweater. He's like, no, his friends were like, "Bro, she's talking to you." And then he looks at his sweater. And he's like, "Oh, well, what's up?" And honestly, that's how it started the first night we met. Um, you got my number.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so I was not paying attention. I was in my own world, and my homie's like, "Bro, she's talking about you." And I had heard the cutie in the champ sweater. I look up and I was like, "What's up?" And she's just like, she was like walking away with her homegirls, and I was like, I remember I didn't have a cell phone. I'm 16 years old. I didn't have a cell phone. And I told my friend, I was like, "Bro, I was like, let me borrow your phone. I'm gonna go ask her for your phone, for her phone number." And I was like, "Let me borrow your phone so I can put it in." Boom, grab the phone. I remember I got her number. I asked her, "What's your name?" And she said, "Cookie." And I was like, "No, what's your real name?" And she's like, "What
Cookie.
would you say,
And I was
Cookie?"
like, I said cookie like 3 times.
Yeah, she's like, "Cookie." And I was like, "What's the name your mom gave
Yeah.
you?" And she's like, "Cookie." And I was like, "All right, cool. All right, my name is Norby." And then got her number, walked back, told my friend. I remember I came back, told my friend, I was like, "Here you go, bro." I was like, "If I don't ask you for that number by Sunday, then you could hit her up." And I just, we're 16, so it's like back then we used to just like talk to girls or whatever, like get phone numbers, whatever. Like I don't know, it was
You
just a
didn't
very.
live that life though. You
I
didn't
wasn't.
go around talking to girls though.
I wasn't the type to
Yeah.
be spitting game. My
Yeah.
homies were.
But your friends were, yeah.
My
But
homies
you
were
weren't.
always. Yeah, I wasn't.
So that was on a Friday night. So I had an ex boyfriend, and that Friday night we had broken up. So Norby hits me back on Sunday, and he texts me, and he's like, "Cookie," and I'm like acting like a mental, like, "Who's this?" But I knew it was you. I was like, "Who's this?" And then he's like, "It's Norby," and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And we like talked, and I told him, "Hey, on Friday when I gave you my number, like I was single, but I'm not single anymore. I'm back with my ex." And he goes like, "Oh, like it's cool. Don't worry about it. Like I have a girlfriend too." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so what do we do? And he's like, we can be friends. I'm like, okay. But mind you, I grew up with a lot of guy friends and I was the only girl in my family. So I didn't have a problem. I never have had a problem with having guy friends, friends that are boys. Um, so I was just like, all right, whatever. Like, it was cool. And truthfully, I don't think none of us came into this like ever thinking it was going to be something.
Not at all. We were
So,
teenagers. Like you got to
yeah.
think. We were not thinking long term about this at all. It was just
Even when
there
we
was
were dating.
attraction. There was
Yeah.
attraction, and we got each other's number. And I mean, it's solely attraction at
Yeah.
that point. We don't even know each other. We
Hmm.
don't even know. We don't have like the understanding to like what type of things to look for in a partner. I
Yeah,
didn't.
for sure.
Solely
Yeah.
attraction, and yeah. So
So, yeah. So that's how we met technically. Um but when we met, we kind of discussed like, oh, he has a girlfriend, I have a boyfriend, whatever, we'll be friends. And that was it. And you probably hit me like 3 times that week, just been like, oh, hey, what's up? How are you? That was it. That was late November. So then remember, December comes and you
hmm
go, hey, don't hit this number anymore.
yeah. Sent her. I don't. Yeah, we weren't talking too much at this point. Like we had talked a little bit, a handful of times. Came. This was when did we meet? November,
Mm-hmm.
and then in December, um, I was texting her from my mom's phone because I didn't have a phone. So I was going to Mexico, and I told her, "Hey, don't text this number anymore." Just randomly, I just
I'm
told her,
like,
"Don't text this number anymore." I don't remember why. I think I was just like, "I'm going to Mexico, so I'm
yeah,
not gonna have time to talk or
right.
something." I don't know. And then point is, I went to Mexico, spent a couple weeks out there, and then we came back, and it must have been a couple weeks before I hit her back up again. I found that phone number. I remember I was looking through my mom's phone because I would use it to text, and I saw her phone number, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Let me hit her up." Cookie, how you doing? What's up? And then we just got to talking again from there. We started getting to know each other through the phone, right?
So you would call me at night because your minutes. So you would,
Minutes.
yeah.
I don't
Remember?
remember this.
Yeah, because you remember like after 9 p.m., your minutes were
Oh
free.
wow, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I forgot about
So like
that.
he would text me and then he didn't have a phone. So he would text me like early morning
That's right.
or in the afternoon when her mom would get
Mm-hmm.
home and he'd be like, oh, I'll call you after 9 p.m. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was very chill always. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like our friendship, I think because we both knew coming in, like, we're going to be friends. He even told me one time, like I'm just your homito. And I was like, okay. Like, I really was like, this is just a homie. Like, I have a lot of homies and he's one of them. And it was like that. So
Yeah.
we were
It
chilling,
was
we
just
were
friendship.
vibing, we were really good friends. Like, we would carry good conversation and like
Mm-hmm.
make each other laugh.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
as friends, because still, I remember even Cindy saying one time, like, once you have broken up with your girlfriend, um, Cindy said, "Dude, are you dumb? Like, obviously he broke up with her because of you." And I was like, "No, like we're just friends."
But she was onto something because the truth is we were just friends, but like I liked you.
Yeah,
I
but you
liked
had
you
never
and it was
said that to
clear.
me.
I hadn't said it,
Yeah.
but it was clear I liked you. I think it's safe to say that you liked me too.
Well, I
And we were
liked
getting
you,
to
but I
know each
feel like
other.
because when you had told me like we're just homies,
Mm-hmm.
for me that was like
No, I understand.
your boundary
You were
to
like,
me.
yeah.
I was like, okay, we're homies. Like, I like you and I think you're
Mm-hmm.
cute, but I was like, not gonna let myself be led on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, even create scenarios in my head. I was like, no, we're homies. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously that turned into something else.
And just to give you guys, I want to give you guys context to who we were at 16 years old, just so we could take you back to that place and where we were at the time. So, 16 years old, I was doing graffiti. I was in high school. I was a knucklehead. I was drinking. I was smoking with my friends. I would hang out with friends that just hung out in the street. We would ditch school and we were just doing the things that we shouldn't be doing. Um, going to kickbacks instead of going to school at times and just getting drunk. and as high schoolers. So I was doing all the wrong things. But then again, the schools that we went to, public schools in the San Fernando Valley, the majority of the kids were doing that, or
Yeah.
there at least every school had crowds that were doing that. You know what I'm saying? I was a part of those crowds. You knew those crowds.
Yeah. Well, also because we grew up in the warehouse party era.
Yeah.
It was warehouse parties all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we were little, like we were young,
Yeah.
we can go party. If they
For
were like the
sure.
little mini raves,
Yeah.
warehouse parties is what we would call flyer parties.
Flyer parties, 20 bucks
Flyer
a head.
parties every
Go.
weekend, Friday, Saturday,
You
Sunday.
hit like 3 in the night because they all get
They
raided.
would get raided.
You
So
know.
that's why also like we were out.
Yeah.
We were young, we were out. For me, it was the same thing. I
Mm-hmm.
was partying way too young because my brother's 5 years older than me, so he would go out and I would go out with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be out in parties with him. Like we were party planning. I was like in middle school, I remember.
Yeah.
I was 14, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we kind of lived that party era a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So I think that's where, I mean, that's where our mindset was at.
Yeah.
But I was not like crazy like him. I just
No.
like to party for the vibes. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't doing any of that. I just wanted to be there for the vibes.
And I was a misguided kid. Just didn't have an identity, a sense of identity.
Oh yeah,
And I was doing drugs and all that,
yeah,
trying to I was a whole different. These drugs and alcohol brought a different person out of me that I felt was more accepted and more cool. So
yeah.
yeah, that's who I was as a teenager when I met her. So very lost in the sauce, you can say.
I remember people used to ask me because we didn't go to the same high school. So they would ask me, so like, what's he like? Is he a skater? Is he a party boy?
Oh yeah.
Is he this? And I was like, Norby's a little bit of everything. And I remember I liked that about you, that we couldn't label you. And I really loved that because I'm like, he skates, he graphs, he parties, he's cool, he goes to church, he's all the things, he's all of the
Because this is
above.
in high school when everybody was like very committed to being one thing. Like if
Yeah,
you were a party
you're in the party
goer,
scene.
you're in the party scene.
Yeah.
You're a
If you're a
grapher. You're a
skater,
grapher. If
and you
you're
know,
a
like in
skater,
high
you're a
school, we had
skater.
like the little cliques,
Yeah, everybody had
you
a
know?
clicks. But yeah, I would bounce around and I was cool with everybody.
Yeah. And you still are.
Yeah.
So I think for sure, to me, that was one of the things that I really loved, that you were just really cool. We can have good conversation. And for me, always like, I could always be myself. And yeah, those were my first impressions of you. I thought you were cool. You were cute.
I think what I liked about you was what you just said, which is you could be yourself. You were always yourself. And I mean, I was confident when I was younger, right? But there was something about you that it was just like you were just free. You weren't trying to impress anybody. You were just you,
Yeah.
and you were funny, and you're gonna crack up loud and just be yourself and be comfortable. And there was like an energy about you that I really liked. I was like, oh, she's dope. Like she's not no filter. Like you're not trying to fake it. You're just being you. And I think that that's what attracted me. I think you were more outgoing than me too, because I've always been kind of, I'm more quiet unless I'm comfortable and with my people. Then I'm
Yeah.
gonna be myself and I'm gonna start clowning. But like besides that, I'm usually kind of just chill.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like a vibrant, laughing loud and joking and
Well, extrovert.
all extra, straight extrovert. And I like that. I was like an introvert that liked the
Yeah.
extrovert. I was like, oh, she's so cool. Like that energy. Like that's not me, but I love that about you.
Hmm.
So
I'm so crazy like that.
you're still crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about
Okay.
when you asked me out.
No,
So we met. I feel like this is all over the place.
no, 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 no. Before we get there, we didn't drive. I used to skate everywhere or
Mm-hmm.
walk everywhere or take the bus. Same with her. You used to walk or take the bus. And so I remember we tried to meet up. She would have soccer practice and we would try to meet after soccer practice, right? And then for some reason, again,
Well, it was winter time,
it was winter time, so it would
so it
rain.
always rain.
It would rain on the days that we had planned to meet up, and then we're like, "Oh, next week we'll do it next week." And this went on for a while, so we never really saw each other. We just kept texting each other, spending a bunch of time on phone
Yeah.
calls, and then eventually I invited you to come over the house and
Mm-hmm.
have carne asada. I told her, hey, look, you and your homegirls come through. I'll make some food. I'll cook,
Oh, that was cute.
and we'll just hang out.
Yeah.
And I had one friend here, one guy friend here, and then you brought two friends.
So I
And
thought he said, I'm going to have a carne asada on Saturday. You should come. And I thought it was going to be more
no
people.
way. Really?
Yes, yes.
Damn.
And then I was like, oh, it's just us. Yeah.
I don't have like a crystal clear memory, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I thought I just invited you guys. But she came over, and that was the first time that we saw each other. I remember, she was walking from the bus stop, and I remember just seeing you from a distance and be like, all right, like she's coming up, and I was
No.
like, I see her, and we walked up to each other, and we
Do you remember
met
we
in
kind of
person for
ran?
the
Kind
first
of ran to
time.
each other, babe. Don't
Did
lie.
we?
I was like,
Nah. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, oh, hi. We gave each other
Mm-hmm.
like a long hug. I
Mm-hmm.
remember.
Because we had been talking and like already enjoying each other's friendship, and it was
Yeah.
just like a breath of fresh air to kind of see each other and be like, all
Yeah.
right, cool, the person like that I've been talking to. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we came in, we enjoyed that carne asada, your friends were here, and it was a good
It
time.
was cool. Yeah.
And honestly, after that, we started hanging out, right? You and I.
Okay. So, time out. Because people are going to wonder what happened to the girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I did not steal nobody's man.
So yeah, no, I'd left the girl that I was with. I left her, and I don't even remember how you broke up, but we were broken up, and then we ended up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, huh? Because I had a boyfriend
Then
too? I
yeah,
forgot.
so we
Listen,
we
you
we
guys.
split up. So again, when we first started talking, we were in relationships, and then we ended up splitting from our relationship. She had a toxic relationship that she was out of. I left the relationship I was in, and within like a month, I think, I basically asked her if she would be my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And the way that I asked her was just like, it was so romantic.
Yeah.
And it was,
Yeah, very.
she makes fun of me to this day because it was not romantic and I was not very straightforward with my question.
How did you
But
ask me?
I'll
Let the
let
people
I'll
be the
let you
judge.
say
Is
that
this a
story.
straightforward question? How did
No,
you ask me?
it's actually kind of embarrassing. I wish I would
Oh,
have been.
baby. So
I
ask me
wish
again right
I
now.
wish I would have been more
Redeem
confident.
yourself, babe.
We've done this before.
Every time we talk about the story, I'm like, redeem yourself. And he still hasn't.
Nah,
Um,
but I basically
you want me to say it?
yeah, you say it.
It was a Saturday morning. It's because I remember all the details, you guys. My memory is like, has pictures in its head. Um, it was a Saturday morning. Remember, I was going to go to the expo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was April 25th, 2010. And we were watching SpongeBob, okay? He's at
Mm-hmm.
my house, and SpongeBob is on, and he's like, hey, so what would you do if I asked you to be my girlfriend? No, what would you say if I asked you to be my girlfriend? And I was like, I'd say yes. And then he was like, okay. And he kissed me. And I was like, okay. Like in my mind, he said, we liked each other. But I'm like, but you were never like sealing it. He wasn't being proper about it. So he had kissed me and my mom had seen. And so later on, we're going to the expo and my mom's like, ¿Y que ese flacucho que ya es tu novio? And I had to say yes because my mom's gonna be like, why are you letting guys that are not your boyfriend kiss you? So I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay. Because I had just gotten off like a bad relationship. So I texted Norby immediately and I'm like, dude, like my mom's asking if you're my boyfriend because she saw us kissing. And he's like, well, did you tell her I said yes? And I was like, well, no. And he's like, well, you are. You said yes. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that's the way you were asking me.
Listen,
And that's our beautiful
I
romantic
wish I
love
could change
story.
it. It is what it is. I don't know why it wasn't clear and direct, but we're here. We made it.
That's
13 years
crazy.
later. All right. So now we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We're in high school still. Before I even get there, let me just say, just to give you guys context again to who we were
So
at
much
that
context.
age,
We were bad.
or
We were
to
bad.
emphasize
We
who
didn't care. We
who I
were
was.
reckless. That's who we were.
Her
Period.
mom at some point said, "Who, I know that
Oh,
he's on
yeah.
drugs."
Yeah.
What did she tell you? Like, I know that kid is on drugs. Like, I could see it in his eyes. And you were
Yeah.
like, no, he's not. And she's like,
Yeah.
I can see it in your eye. I can
Yeah.
see it in his
I
eyes.
mean, we have to talk. I mean, we have to talk about it then. Again, I was in a really bad relationship that was really toxic and really dangerous for myself. Um, and there was like lies upon that. So this guy I dated was older, and my brother and my mom ended up finding out about all like the crazy stuff. So they were worried about me. They were worried about me because again we had just broken up, and then now I'm like talking
Mm-hmm.
to Norby, right? But obviously they didn't know that Norby and I were already friends for months. Um, so my brother meets you, he IDs you.
He ID'd me at her house.
Yeah,
He met me and he was like, "How old are you?" And I like laughed. I was like, I'm
yeah,
17." And he's like, "Let me see your ID." And I was like, "What?"
yeah.
I was like, "You asked me for it." Like I couldn't tell if he was serious or not. But anyways,
He was mean though, my
big
brother.
brother was checking to make sure that his sister wasn't dating some older guy.
Yeah,
Showed him my ID and he's like, "All right." But yeah, he didn't like me at
yeah.
first.
So, but it was like because of what I had just come out of.
Mm-hmm.
So then one time my mom too, she's like, cause she would always call him El Flacucho. She's like, ¿Y ese Flacucho qué? She's like, he does drugs. I know he doesn't. I'm like, Mom, no, he doesn't. Like, obviously, I know that. But she's like, I can tell that he does drugs. I can see it in his eyes. And I was like, no, he doesn't, Mom. And she told me, like, she's like, Mabel, how are you going to tell me that he doesn't? Like, I got out of a relationship like that. So I know what that looks like. And I was like scared.
I think that's short time after that she starts working. I think that summer too. I was working with my dad actually.
Oh, yeah, you were.
I
Yeah,
was working with
I
my
remember
dad.
that.
So I was working with my dad, and she was working at the mall. But we're young teenagers. We busted everywhere. We walk everywhere. I'd go pick her up at the mall. I'd walk her back to her apartment, and then I'd walk. I gotta keep going down that street another 15 minutes to get back home. And so we'd hang out all the time and just spend hours together. And we had a great friendship.
Yeah,
We laughed together all the time. We had great
yeah,
conversation. It One thing that we realized was that we didn't have a quiet moment for like a little over a year
yeah,
because we were so high energy and we were just always talking,
yeah,
having a good time, laughing, conversation from the moment that we met up to when we said bye to each other.
yeah,
And there was this moment I remember, like a year and a half later,
yeah.
we had a quiet moment and we just sat and we both looked at
You
each other.
pointed it out. It was over the phone. You
Both
pointed
looked
it
at
out.
each other. Oh, was it over the phone?
Yeah, you pointed it
Mm.
out.
And we both realized, like, what? That was the first quiet
Yeah,
moment ever, like where
yeah,
we just kind of just
yeah.
and
Do you
we
remember?
noticed it.
Because
I
you
remember
were
that
like,
happening, but what do
you
you?
were like, you said, did we just have our first quiet
Yeah.
moment? And I was like, what? We did, but I thought it was cute that you had noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, it
So I
stood
think
out.
that's like such a core memory for us that we were like, dang, I think that was one thing where we were like, dang, that's dope. Like it's been over a year
Mm-hmm.
and this is our first quiet moment. And even our first year, I don't think we ever had an argument. I
Not
don't
at
think we
all.
had an argument
We
until
didn't.
like our second year.
Mm-hmm.
And then our third year, we were like,
Yeah.
okay, it's too long now.
Nah, but we went through like 2 years without an argument,
Yeah,
without fighting,
yeah.
and we were just building, 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 and
Unknowingly.
I know, yeah,
Yeah.
but
We're just literally taking it by
we were
day.
just enjoying each other,
Yeah,
and I think there's beauty in that because
yeah,
I mean, up until this day, 13 years later, you know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, at our core, we have a great friendship
yeah,
because we could be mad at each other, but even sometimes when we're mad at each other, like we might be able to joke with each other
yeah. Like
because
we'll
we have.
crack a joke for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll crack a joke and like even I could be like, don't do that because I'm mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
But then we'll like crack a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really dope.
If in a relationship you have a great friendship, ooh, you have a strong foundation. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, I think because like the friendship part, when you have a good friendship, it's because I think you have good communication.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to talk about still now.
Mm-hmm.
Like yesterday, we talked for like 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess we'll take you guys through a few stories that we have, like highlight stories in our relationship. Obviously, We dated for many years. A lot happened, but we'll share a few highlight stories. So, one of the ones was Cheesecake Factory.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite one.
We went on a date, and my brother dropped us off at the Cheesecake Factory. Again, we weren't driving,
Yeah.
and the Cheesecake Factory was a little
So when it
far.
was further places,
Hmm.
like we didn't even know how to get there by the
If it was
bus.
out the hood and it
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly. If it was out the hood, we were
this,
gonna get it right.
uh-huh. And so we got a ride, and we got dropped off at the Cheesecake
Yeah.
Factory. Try to have a little fancy
In
date.
Studio City,
Mm-hmm.
Ventura.
Ventura.
Yeah.
And trying to have a little fancy date, and we each got a pasta or something. And then what was funny, like, is we were broke,
Yeah, I
and
paid.
you paid.
Yeah,
Damn, I thought I paid.
I had paid, and I was like, "Babe, I don't have any more money."
We didn't have money for a tip, and it was just hilarious. We felt bad
I
because the
felt
server
so
was so nice that
bad.
day. He was so
Yeah, he
cool. He
was
was so
so
nice to
sweet.
us, and we didn't have money for a tip, and we're like, dang, like, what do we do? And we paid the bill, and we felt like this guilt, so we were like,
We
run.
ran out. Do you remember?
We walked
We
out. We're
literally.
like, don't let him see us, and then we ran. We felt like we had to run. We just,
That's one of my favorite memories.
but just like picture some two kids running away, running to the. I don't even. Oh, my brother picked us up, huh?
Hmm.
We
We
ran
ran
down
like
the
we had
street.
stolen
Yeah,
something,
like we had stolen something. It was funny, man.
which we did steal other times, but not that time.
Did you ever dine and dash with me?
I didn't. No,
No. Oh, okay.
I was too scared.
Me and my friends dined and dashed a few times.
I was too
And,
scared to get caught and get
okay. Yeah.
arrested, but
Yeah. I'm
that
not
still
encouraging
happened.
that, but I'm just saying what we used to do at that age. So, yeah. So another story is, again, we were partying at this age. I was reckless, man. I was 17 years old. I was on probation already because I had got caught doing graffiti.
Oh yeah,
So I was already on probation. We're out at a party.
but let's remember that I wasn't allowed to go out to parties without my brother.
So her brother was there this time. Actually, we were with your. Oh
No,
no, we were with your
I
cousin.
was not allowed to go out to parties without my brother. And that time you wanted to go out. It was a
Mm-hmm.
warehouse party. It was like gonna be a dope one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, my brother's working. I'm not gonna be able to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if I ask my cousin, he used to live with us. I'm like, my mom's gonna say yeah. So when we used to party, it was like me, my brother, his best friend, her sisters, which were my best friends, um, my cousin, and then another one of my brother's friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, if my cousin takes us, he'll drive us, and I'll be safe. And my cousin, I love him, but he's like gonna have a good time for himself. So I convinced him to convince my mom, and my mom ended up letting us go. So now you're there and we're there together, and it was like not good.
Yeah, I was lit, and we walked out. I walked out to make a phone call, and I'm drunk. I've got weed in my pocket. It's past curfew because I'm on probation. Past curfew because I wasn't 18 years old yet. Plus, I'm on
Yeah.
probation. Plus, I have a lighter in my pocket. Of
Plus, why we really got arrested.
plus, I'm drunk, and I walk out, and I'm on the phone call, and she's with me. Her cousin's inside the party, and I start peeing in a bush, and then a cop pulls up, and flashes the lights, and I was like, "Damn!" And he's like, "Look at the mess you made here, man." Like looking at my pee jerk down the block, and he's like, "Look at the mess you made here, man. Here, put your hands,
How old
whatever."
are
Like
you?
17.
No,
Yeah.
he asked you.
How old are
He
you?
they flashed the light at us. Are like, how
Yeah.
old are you?
Basically, we got arrested, and I listed all those things off because they were all technically charges, and
Yeah.
especially with me being on probation, he was like, "Man, you got like 6 charges right now."
Yeah.
He said, "But I'm only gonna charge you with curfew," and he's like, "Because you're on probation, I'm only gonna charge you with curfew. Like you seem like a good kid, whatever." But he called my parents to pick us up. He called both our parents to pick us up. Her mom had to pick her up. My parents had to pick me up. She didn't get a ticket because she gave a fake name, and the cop was like being all nice and was like low key hitting on her, like he liked her. And I remember standing there being pissed
He
because
was
I'm
all
in
mad.
cuffs and this guy's over here being all nice to my girl. I was like, bruh,
Yeah,
that's crazy. You were underage too. Now that
yeah,
I think about it.
yeah. That
But
was crazy though because I didn't have an ID. So
yeah,
it
you didn't
even
have an
started
ID.
there. I didn't have an ID, and they're like, "What's your name?" And so I was giving half information, like half of
First
my
name,
information, and then
fake
my
last
best
name or
friend's
whatever.
information.
Yeah.
So I was like, uh, Mabel Villatoro, like
Mm-hmm.
giving all because I was like, okay, I have to not forget if they ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they just wrote up a ticket for me, and I didn't get. I don't think I got handcuffed. I think
I,
like they were
yeah,
just
I
like turn
did because they put
around.
me in the back of the
You
car.
did, but I didn't
Yeah.
because remember then they called a girl cop. They were like, I can't touch you because I was
Yeah.
like underage or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they didn't handcuff me. They called back up,
Mm-hmm.
and then she searched me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, my heart's racing just remembering. And she searched me, and yeah, thank God, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how it was like, and I got arrested, and our parents had to come pick us up. Dude, my cousin came outside to look for us, and we're like pulled over. He's like, "What the fudge? Like, what happened?" Oh my gosh, I felt so bad.
And I felt bad because I was like, her mom and her brother. Your
Yeah,
brother was
then my
there.
mom came to pick me up.
Her
She was
mom and her brother
livid,
were there.
and Caesar was
And
livid.
I'm in my parents' car by this time, and we start driving off. Like they spoke or whatever, but we start driving off. I felt like ashamed, embarrassed because I'm like, dang, like I'm this girl's boyfriend, and we just got arrested together because of me. You know, this is not the first time I get arrested, so it's just like I'm just like, ah, like I'm tainting this, or like I just
Yeah.
people are gonna look at me bad. Her
Hmm.
parents are gonna not like me.
Yeah.
Her and so
And then they already kind of didn't like you
they
because
already
they were
yeah
like, "Who is this guy?"
they just knew I was up to trouble.
Yeah,
So
that
so
was
yeah.
crazy. We have so many stories,
We got
like
so many stories
so
like
many
that.
stories, but I
Like,
think these are like somewhere we were just like, "Uh oh."
all right, so you guys have some context to how we were at that age, where our mindset was, what I was doing. I was crazy. And so just we say that to say like in our first year of dating, I felt like I had a girl that was down. I was like, "Oh, I got a down one. Like she's cool. She's down to do everything I do. She's low key she accepts like the craziness and the stuff that I get into, and she's kind of here with me a little bit, and so I thought it was cool. It was I remember she was working at the mall, and I remember one time she came after I picked her up. She was like, "Hey, like somebody I met some people at work today that basically came to evangelize, and they invited me to their church." And I was like, "Oh heck no!" I was like, because I grew up in a church, and finally I was getting to the age where like my mom wasn't couldn't really tell me like what to do in a sense. So like we'd go to church. At this point I'm ditching church every time I go to church and hanging out with my friends. And I'd ditch my class, she'd go to church, and I'd leave and not go to service, and then I'd be back as soon as the service ended and act like I went to class. And
That's
And so I say that to say that when she told me that she wanted to go to church after these people came and evangelized to her, my mind was like, dang, man, like God found a way. Like the one girl that I had that was like down with all this craziness and now she's hitting me with this. I was like, pff, I was like, all right. But I told her, I was like, all right, we can go check out that church. I'm down. I didn't think it was gonna stick. We still go to that church to this day.
I went to that church that first Sunday, and I was like, "Lord, if this is the church you want me to be at, I'm not gonna fall asleep." And
That's
I
funny.
haven't fallen asleep since. It's been 13 years.
Yeah, me either. I used to fall asleep at church a lot.
Used to.
But yeah, man, around like she was 17 at the time. I think we were like 17, 18.
So I just want to touch up on how I ended up at this church because nobody was like, 10 people came to evangelize, but it was more than that. These two girls, when I was working at the mall, came and they invited me to a concert that their church was having. And I remember telling them that I was off at 9 and then I would show up to the concert after 9 if it was still going. and I said to her if she had a number, I can reach to her and I'll text her once I'm done and then I can show up. And uh, she said, I don't have a phone. She said, because when we're like preaching the gospel, God told me to just carry my Bible. I don't have money. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything because we know that God is going to provide. And when she said that, I was like, what? This girl was the same age as me. She was like 16. And I was also Christian. Like, I grew up in the church. But that marked me because I'm like, wait, hold on. Like, you know God in a different way than I know God. And they marked me. Like, to this day, her life marks me.
Yeah, she's amazing. Shout
Ivy
out Ivy.
Prada, my girl, I adore you. And to this day, this girl marks me, but she marked my life that moment. And I was like, what? And that always stuck with me. I was like, okay, they know something that I don't because I've no one's ever talked to me about God in this way that he was so personal. So that's where it was like I need to go to that church. Church has changed my life. I think the one thing that I came to know there was that I could know God in a personal level and like he knows me and they taught us to pray and do devotionals and all of that. So anyway, all that to say that I then changed and now Norby was like from his party girlfriend. Now he's like wants now he has this like girl who now just wants to pursue God wholeheartedly. And yeah, you can keep going on your side of the story.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the church too. And
Yeah.
then after she went to her encounter or retreat, she got rocked, and but I went a week later, right? That
Yeah.
was a week later. She came back different, and I was like, dang, all right, like I'll go check one out too. Like I'll go. And the people back then were like super cool. Like I felt like I fit in with that crowd, Big Lou,
Big
Alex.
Lou.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, all right, I could relate to these people. The church had the kind of hood dudes at that time, which was cool because I was like, all right, cool. Like
Yeah.
I
And
can
I
see
think
myself
that's
in these
what got
people.
us because remember they would also do like a lot of spoken word.
Yeah, they were doing like rapping
Yeah.
and graffiti. Like some of them were into
Yeah.
graffiti and whatnot. So it just felt like I was like, all right, cool. We
Yeah.
fit in here. And I went to a retreat, and to be honest, got rocked too because
Yeah.
yeah, I had never gone to anything like that, to be honest, and just the stories, the vulnerability from the leaders, and I just remember
Yeah.
hearing stories, and I was like, whoa, like I
Yeah.
changed and I did a 180 change, and I remember speaking loudly, speaking, being vocal with my cousins and telling them like, nah, man, I'm Christian and I don't do that anymore. And this is why. And I remember my cousins like challenging me, like, oh yeah, bro, like, and why this and why that, like, and challenging me because they're like, they
Mm,
knew another side of me. You know what I'm
right.
saying? They
Yeah.
knew a crazy side of me that they're like, bro, really, you're Christian now? And I remember being challenged, and I was like, all right, bro, like, I was like, I am like for real, like, I believe this,
Mm,
and that stood for a while, but to be honest, there came a time where I remember feeling like I had felt like the black sheep in my family, in a sense of my aunts and uncles at this my aunts at this point are like looking at me as a bad influence amongst my cousins. And so I was just like, I just felt like the black sheep, right? Where they were like, oh, if he's hanging out with Norby, like go keep an eye on them.
yeah.
Or we don't want him hanging, we don't want our kids hanging out with Norby because he's smoking weed or whatever. And 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 I remember as soon as I like changed and you know became Christian, and I started speaking differently and whatnot. I remember then my aunts were like, hey, they started changing and they started asking me like, hey, can you talk to your cousin? Like he's messing up right now. He's unfocused. Hey, can you talk to your cousin? He's getting into the wrong things. And I remember this season where like now my family was treating me differently, and I was so used to being like the black sheep that I was just like it felt uncomfortable. And I remember feeling that discomfort and being like, this is not me. Nah. It just didn't feel right, as like the opportunity to be a leader was coming up. It just didn't feel right. And I remember I started backpedaling again and falling back into who I was because I felt like that's where I was comfortable. Like, let me go back to who I was.
Yeah.
I don't like the way I'm being treated
I think
now.
the
I don't like the
responsibility. Yeah.
responsibility. I don't like the responsibility that I'm being given now, where now people are looking at me like, hey, can you help? And I was like, what? Like, I was 18 years old and I was just like, nah. So I changed, and I changed for I don't know how long that was, how long that period was, but I changed. And nonetheless, like, I was impacted by
Yeah,
that
for sure.
encounter.
Yeah.
But I started slipping up again, and you were very much walking that straight path, and you were very disciplined, and you knew what you wanted, and she started doing her devotionals, and
That's when things started changing for us because now
yeah,
I was living like a different lifestyle and you were living like you were just kind of like wanted to stay there, but a lot of things for me had changed because that led to our breakup, but also like the friends that I was partying with and everyone, like my life changed. So I changed and my friendship started changing. And then I started realizing like, dang, like these people don't hit me up anymore because now I don't want to party. So it was kind of like, I mean, the Lord was showing me a lot of things, but
up to that point, like we hadn't had like much like real tension or
yeah,
problems. Like
yeah,
our relationship, again, we had a great friendship, and it was just on the up and up and getting better and better. And I think at that point, you and I started going different directions, where
yeah,
you were going this straight and narrow path. I wasn't ready to do that yet. And you can say that was the first time where, like, our relationship started being different. Like, so we started to have kind of that difference in opinion and the way that we wanted to live. And
So I think that because we don't want to elongate this video, which is probably already really long, um, I think we can continue with like a part two
we'll continue with like a part two, or like,
because that's a whole other story.
yeah, basically us. We could lead to like us getting married and how we got married, and maybe that video will keep shorter and get to the to present time. But just after having this conversation, and this feels like a very long video, so we've got you guys up to this point.
Yeah.
We're young teenagers dating, getting to know each other, got saved together, and then we started to kind of reach some difference in opinion. And in the next video, we'll talk about how we eventually broke up. And yeah, we had a nice little breakup. Could have been the end, but somehow we got brought back together.
Stay tuned. Ah.
But nonetheless, appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing this story. Um, Again, we hope that you guys are getting some value out of this. Sure, this video in particular is just our story, and it's just a little fun, and just so that you guys kind of have an understanding of who
Yeah.
we are.
Getting to know us more.
Yeah,
And
getting to
like,
know us.
yeah. And I think it's really important because I think it still ties into who we are now. Where
Hmm.
obviously you can't erase your past. Even who we are now, like as friends, as leaders, as parents, we lived a life. So
Yeah.
I think if you don't know me personally, you probably think I'm like this really religious girl because you follow me on Instagram and
Hmm.
I'm always posting about God, and that is my life. But I think it's so important to have an understanding of who we were back in the day, to know who we are now and why we are the way that we are. And even moving forward, like things that the way that we live our life, just everything, it has marked everything, but it also, God has shaped who we are, and the way that we pursue our life now. So, thank you guys for the questions. Thank you guys for the feedback. We love you guys, and I'm so grateful that you're here. And honestly, I can't wait to grow with you guys. It excites me, and you guys encourage us. You guys encourage me a lot. I cried a lot when we posted that first one. Just a bunch of tears of gratitude. So I'm just grateful because for me, the last 10 years have just been like seasons of growth and growth and growth with the Lord, and seasons of resilience, where like I could have allowed life to knock me down, but I didn't. Well, God didn't allow me to just stay in the rut. So I'm grateful. And this is why we're here. So thank you guys. We love you so much.
Yeah, if you guys got any more questions, let us know.
Please let
We
us
want to
know.
continue to answer questions for you guys. And we're going to continue to get comfortable here and just be 100% ourselves.
Yeah.
We're still working through this camera microphone situation,
Yeah.
but I love you.
I love you. 13 years in the making, baby.
13 years, mama.
I'm so grateful. And I love you.
I love you too.
And I still think you're fun. And I still think you're gorgeous.